Southern California, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves quite a show, as we have a lot to get into in the world of Southern California sports, such as the Rams. They win yet again as they took down not only the Commanders, but they took down the Saints last night on Thursday Night Football. Are they getting closer and closer to the playoffs? Or is it just a mirage? They only have 2 games left as they're both going to be on the road. And the Chargers begin life without Brandon Staley and Tom Telesco tomorrow as they host the Buffalo Bills. Will the Chargers be able to shock the world and keep what little playoff hope they have alive? Or will their playoff hopes finally take a long-deserved vacation? And the Lakers are definitely struggling after their in-season tournament championship win. But not the Clippers. Even though they lost last night to the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Clippers are hot, ladies and gentlemen. Also, how about UCLA football's bowl season win against Boise State? They start slow, but Ethan Garber's riding the ship, and he helped guide the Bruins to the bowl win in SoFi Stadium. Also, USC has their bowl game coming up against Louisville. And how about CSUN men's basketball doing what 29 other opponents couldn't do against a very somewhat talented opponent? All that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Friday afternoon, Friday morning, Friday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you have made your way into episode 160 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show would not be live without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on Spreaker. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on, formerly known as Twitter, X, Instagram, and on TikTok at IE Sports Radio, and also follow us on Facebook. All you just have to do is type in the word IE, then sports, then radio, like us, and then boom, that's how you're able to follow us on Facebook. Also, do check out our website, www.iesportsradio.com. It is a daily updated website for all of your sports news, our IE Sports Radio blog, our Hall of Fame, our Fans of the Month, our page dedicated to each podcast, our community forum, and our merchandise shop, because you need to cop yourself a hoodie because it is getting cold. For the past 9 years and counting, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel, to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports seasons around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. Huge shout out and a huge thank you to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, it's low in sugar, and high in protein. This is some of the best jerky you can get your hands on, and all you have to do is visit www.planetjerky.net and place your order. In addition, if you tell planetjerky.net that you heard about them on one of our podcasts, then you will get entered into a raffle to win 2 free bags of jerky. Also, if you go to their website, prices are slashed through this holiday weekend, and if you buy orders of $50 or more, you'll get shipping for free. Once again, a huge shout out to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. And the way you can follow the SoCal Supreme Sports Show on social media is on X, formerly known as Twitter, at SoCal Show IESR. And you can follow me, Teran Rodriguez, mainly on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Teran Rodriguez1. And without any further delay, let us begin. As Larry B is in the chat room on Spreaker, he says, "Let's go. You're going to be in my AirPods for the entire lift at the gym today. I'm just getting here." Well, I'm glad to. Hopefully, I'll be entertaining to you, LB. And Mike Pat says, "Teran, have a great show, sir. This Rams team is looking pretty good lately. You're welcome." Haha. Well, that's actually a perfect segue to go into the first topic. So let's jump on into the Rams just because they had a couple recent games, unlike the Chargers, which I recapped their games last week. So let's recap Sunday's game against the Commanders. So their game against the Saints and the game against the Commanders were actually kind of one the same. They actually won by the same amount of points. But the Commanders game, I never really felt like they lost control of that game. Except they kind of shot themselves in the foot. They had 2 fumbles, courtesy of Kyren Williams, but he did have a touchdown early on, and he has been great as of late. He had 152 rushing yards, and he had 1 touchdown on the ground. So all in all, for the Rams, other than the 2 fumbles from Kyren Williams, the defense was actually stout for the most part, and the only score that the Commanders did not even get on the board until toward over halfway through the third quarter when Sam Howell hit Curtis Samuel for a touchdown. But at that point, the Rams had 20 points and the Commanders had 7 points. And I am starting to like Matthew Stafford getting all of his receivers involved, and that's what he really missed last year. If he had gotten all of his receivers involved, I think the Rams might have been a little bit more successful, just because it was all Cooper Kupp, where you had other receivers like Van Jefferson, Demarcus Robinson, which he got involved in the Commanders game where he hit him for a 23-yard touchdown, and he also got a Kyren Williams 2-point conversion as the Rams went up 28-7. So at that point, or pretty much sometime down the line, the Commanders decided to yank Sam Howell and decided to put Jacoby Brissett, a.k.a. Brissett Brisket, into the game, as Jacoby Brissett actually managed to score 2 touchdowns, and that made the game a little bit more interesting. But the Rams actually blocked an extra point, and that actually led to the Commanders releasing their long snapper. I don't remember his name, but unfortunately, I think his name had something to do with cheese. But all in all, the Rams did win 28-20. I mean, they could have done without making the game a little bit more dramatic and making Jacoby Brissett look a little decent, but I feel Jacoby Brissett might be the better answer than Sam Howell. I mean, Sam Howell obviously has a few more years, but Jacoby Brissett is a seasoned veteran. Now, obviously the Rams, they weren't without their miscues. Like I said, they had the 2 miscues from Kyren Williams, but he made up for it big time. He had the 2-point conversion, and he had the rushing touchdown, and he had 152 rushing yards altogether. And Cooper Kupp is starting to look like Cooper Kupp again. He's starting to look like the Cooper Kupp from 2021 that helped the Rams win the Super Bowl. He had 111 receiving yards and 1 touchdown, only on 8 catches too. I would have liked for the Rams to contain Terry McLaurin a little bit better, but at that point of the Rams being up 20-0, obviously the Commanders are going to air it out instead of just running the ball. But they did run the ball a few times, so I give the credit to the Rams for being aware of the run defense and having a somewhat good red zone defense as well. So there's that right there. Now jumping over to yesterday's game where they played the Saints. All right, so this one was kind of like the Saints, the Commanders game, except the Rams didn't jump out to a big lead. They jumped out to a 10-0 lead as Puka Nacua got the party started with a touchdown catch on 4th down after the Rams went 95 yards after they completed a 95-yard touchdown drive, and which was capped off by a 4th and goal catch from Puka Nacua inside the end zone. And in the second quarter, the Rams eventually capped it off with a field goal. They added a field goal, so it's 10-0. And I'm thinking, all right, well, this is looking good for the Rams. I'm liking this. And then suddenly Derek Carr manages to find blown coverage, and he finds Rashid Shaheed for a 45-yard touchdown. But eventually the Rams get a touch, and it looked like... And eventually the Rams went down the field. They tried to kick a field goal. That missed horribly. It's been the MO of the Rams this season. The Rams have missed field goals, and they can't seem to find a consistent kicker. Hashtag I miss Matt Gay. But the Rams did stop the Saints on fourth down in Rams territory. And then the Rams eventually went down the field, and they got a 4-yard touchdown catch from Demarcus Robinson. So it was 17-7 at halftime in favor of the Rams. And they started the second half with a field goal from 22 yards out. And then Kyron Williams added a touchdown from 10 yards out eventually later on in the third quarter. So now suddenly it's 27-7. Then the fourth quarter, early in the fourth quarter, it's another field goal. This time it's from 32 yards out. So as Al Michaels said, the Rams converted on all of the short field goals, or Lucas Havrisic converted on all of the shorty field goals, but not on the long field goals. So it's 30-7. So at that point, I'm feeling really comfortable about the Rams. I'm thinking, okay, Rams are looking really good. There's no way they're gonna whiff on this. So eventually, the Saints get all the way down to the red zone. They start working their way down, and then eventually Derek Carr finds Juwan Johnson, the tight end, for a touchdown. And then eventually the Rams have to go 3 and out, which was uncanny of them, which was not like them. And then eventually on the next drive from for the Saints, the Saints managed to get a touchdown as Derek Carr found A.T. Perry. I never even heard of this A.T. Perry guy. This was the first time this season I've heard of A.T. Perry, and apparently he makes this amazing catch going over, it was something Witherspoon. I forget his name. I think it was like it's not Devin Witherspoon, but he made just an amazing catch. A.T. Perry just made such an amazing catch, and I admit that was a pretty good catch if you ask me. A little too good for my taste. Ahkello Witherspoon. So I see why Larry is saying the Rams played so well yesterday, but they played so crappy. Yeah, and one of the loyal Rams fans, who's also a friend of the show, of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, at ADGDB, said the Rams got the dub, but they made this a little bit too close for comfort. I'm paraphrasing, by the way, but to quote his exact words, got the W, but would love to watch a game without clenching my cheeks. In other words, without clenching his butt. And I basically agree with him. If I'm a Rams fan, I don't need to be fearing what the Chargers fans, or how many few of them, have to go through every single week. As I basically told them, the Rams need to stop playing with their food, and that they actually need to finish it. And that's 2 straight games where the Rams led by 20+ and allowed the opposition to get within 1 score. But at the end of the day, just to complete the Rams game, the Saints got a 2-point conversion, which I guess is good, as that was caught by Chris Olave. So now it's 30-22. Saints kick an onside kick. Rams recover it, and then the Rams eventually just chew up the clock, and they didn't even need to kick the field goal, which was good. So eventually the Rams wound down the clock, and the Rams wound up winning 30-22, which was good as gold. So the Rams are 8-7, and they have quite a bit of time off as they're celebrating Victory Friday. So Merry Christmas to all Rams fans, by the way. I had a feeling they would win. So I picked the Rams to win 28-20, which I find it funny because that was actually the score of the Commanders game. But I did predict the correct margin of victory for the Rams, so that counts for something. But I will say this. The Rams have got to do a little bit better job of closing out games and making it a little bit more comfortable on themselves. I get it. They have a young defense. That is kind of the MO of their team. That's kind of the pass they get. They have a young defense outside of like Jordan Fuller and Aaron Donald and a few other experienced guys, but those are their 2 seasoned veterans. And I think those are the only 2 that return from... Oh, and Ernest Jones. Can't forget about Ernest Jones. Those are the only 3 that return from the Rams' Super Bowl team. But for the Rams, they just can't let up on 20-point leads. They're not the Chargers. Let's just get that out of the way. They're way too good to be blowing 20-point leads. And if they do that against a better team like the Niners or maybe the Eagles, well, they lost to both teams, or the Lions, then, like, if they do that against the Lions, I don't know if that is going to, if they're going to win that game. But time will tell. So thankfully for the Rams, they're playing the Commanders and the Saints. They just have to learn to just actually close the deal sooner rather than later. And then, basically, they'll be a lean, mean playoff team machine. But time will tell. All right, but that is basically that for the Rams. Their next game isn't until, not this Sunday, but the following Sunday on New Year's Eve, when they hit the road to the Big Apple to play the New York Giants, the New York Football Giants. And the rest of the way, the Rams do not have any more home games at SoFi Stadium. So the only way they'll get a home game is if they manage to play... Well, if they play a 7 or 8 seed. Well, currently, the Rams are the 6th seed in the playoffs, but I don't know how much is going to stay. How much is that going to stand? Now, looking at the Rams' last 2 games, they've got the Giants, and then they're at the 49ers. Now, looking at the Niners, they've clinched the NFC West, so there's no way the Rams or the Seahawks can catch up to the Niners. But the Niners have not clinched the number 1 seed. The Niners this week have the Ravens, and then they've got the Commanders, which, no offense, Mike Pat, but I think they win that one fairly easily. But the Ravens game is going to be so interesting. And then, like I said, the Niners close out the regular season with the Rams at home. So if the Niners get the number 1 seed, this begs the question, do the Niners rest their starters against the Rams? Because they have the tiebreaker over the Eagles, and they have the tiebreaker over the Cowboys. That just is so... It basically is very interesting right there. And we don't know if the Rams will have clinched a playoff spot by the time if they beat the Giants, which they should. I'm not going to make my full-on prediction, and I'm not going to look at the Giants right away just because it's not that time, but I'm just looking at this week and what the playoff map is looking like for the Rams. So there's that scenario right there. You also got to look at the other teams that are fighting for a playoff spot, because as I just said, the Rams are currently 6th in the playoff spot, but right behind them is the Minnesota Vikings. Now, the Vikings, they play the Detroit Lions, and if the Rams want to have a little bit more comfort in terms of making the playoffs, they're going to need help from their former quarterback, Jared Goff, in terms of beating the Vikings. Because the Rams and Vikings don't play one another, and the Vikings play the Lions this week in Minnesota. And boy howdy, I think the Rams would really like to see Jared Goff go off against Minnesota. And I know Detroit and Minnesota aren't really part of SoCal, but Jared Goff is a former Ram, and Amon-Ra St. Brown is a former SoCal product. So, and this does really have a lot to do with the Rams' playoff hopes. Now, looking at other potential playoff teams that are on the Rams' coattails, you've got the Seahawks, which they pulled off a great win over the Eagles, which I didn't think that was going to happen. I really thought the Seahawks were going to get worked. And this really concerns me for the Rams, because the Seahawks have 3 very winnable games. They've got the Titans this week at Tennessee, and then next Sunday, the Seahawks are home against Pittsburgh, and then the last week, the Seahawks hit the road to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. My fear is for the Rams is that the Seahawks win out, and then they jump the Rams in terms of the playoff standings, and then the Rams are the 7th seed, and they have to play either Dallas/Philadelphia instead of playing Detroit. I think the Rams match up better against Detroit more so than they match up against a la Philly. Now, I know Philly has struggled, but if they match up against Dallas, like let's say Dallas does win the NFC East, the Rams matching up against Dallas on the road would be a matchup disaster. So the Rams have to get that 6th seed, and they have to hope they draw Detroit in the first round. Because if they don't, then I just don't see them getting out of the wild card round. I mean, I guess I could also hope that Detroit beats Dallas the following week, but that's going to be an uphill climb just because Detroit has been hit or miss every time with their defense. And then I guess I should also mention that the Saints are still in the playoff hunt. Obviously, they just got beat by the Rams, and then their last 2 games are against NFC South foes, at Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then home against the Atlanta Falcons, which the Falcons had a horrible loss against the Carolina Panthers, while the Buccaneers, they have aspirations of hosting a playoff game as they're looking to win the NFC South. But on the off chance the Rams lose, and on the off chance the Saints win out and the Bucs win out, the NFC South could, hence the word could, have 2 potential playoff teams. So the thing for the Rams is the MO for the Rams is in terms of the playoff scenario, they have to just take care of their own thing. They have to take care of business next week against the Giants. Mathematically, the Giants aren't eliminated, but their playoff hopes are hanging by a thread after getting whomped by the Saints. I forgot to mention, the Saints were riding, I think it was a 2-game winning streak? No, it was a 3-game... No, yeah, it was a 2-game winning streak. They beat the Panthers and the Giants, which is nothing to write home about. So I was a little concerned about this, but then when I saw that the Saints had only beaten the Panthers and Giants, I was like, well, now the Saints actually have to face a good team on the road. And lo and behold, the Saints didn't win. So thankfully for the Rams, they got the job done, albeit it was a little ugly in the 4th quarter, but thankfully for their sake, I don't think they have lost to Derek Carr in terms of their history of St. Louis and Los Angeles. I know they haven't lost as the Los Angeles Rams to Derek Carr, but I'm not so sure about the St. Louis Rams. But regardless, the Rams are still undefeated as the Los Angeles Rams against Derek Carr, and they are sitting pretty as the 6th seed. And the best part is they still have the tiebreaker over the Seahawks. So as long as Seattle somehow slips up, the Rams still have a good shot. I mean, here's the thing for the Seahawks. I wouldn't put it past them losing at least 1 game, but those 3 games are so winnable. The Steelers are a mess. The Titans don't know who they're starting at quarterback, and Derrick Henry cannot carry that team. And the Cardinals are just playing for pride. But I would not put it past the Seahawks losing any of those 3 games. But I would put it past them winning out. Like, on paper, the Seahawks could win out and ruin the Rams' playoff hopes. And I also would hate to see the Vikings win out. But again, it's a time will tell process, and the Rams just have to take care of business come the following week. So that's going to basically do it for the Rams. I've kind of rambled on about the Rams and their playoff hopes. Let's jump to the Chargers, which are basically a walking funeral home. All right. So last time I talked about the Chargers, I went off and there were a lot of bleeps and cuss words. So the Chargers are so bad, they are close to elimination as they now start off the post-Brandon Staley and Tom Telesco era tomorrow as they host the Buffalo Bills. Now, as we all see, the Chargers basically are facing an uphill climb. A massive uphill climb because obviously no Justin Herbert, no Keenan Allen, he's ruled out. Joey Bosa, even though he practiced in a limited capacity, he's ruled out too. And yeah. And then doubtful is Dean Leonard and Tanner Muse. And then questionable is Esong Basie, Nick Vanette, and Nick Williams. And then out for the Bills is Micah Hyde and Justin Shorter. I've never even heard of Justin Shorter. But Micah Hyde being out is a big loss right there for the Bills. And Daquan Jones and Ty Johnson, as well as AJ Epinesa and Khalil Elam, they're all questionable for the Bills. So here's the thing for the Chargers. They don't have much to play for, but at the same time, they're playing on Peacock. So, unless NBC is gonna, televise this game nationally and locally, I don't plan on getting Peacock. But my thing for the Chargers is they're just gonna have to make do with Easton Stick, and they're gonna have to make do with Joshua Palmer and Jalen Guyton and Quentin Johnston. They have Austin Eckler still, but again, with that effort from last week, I'm just not sure. And the sad thing but here's the thing. Now that Brandon Staley's gone, I think the Chargers will be better than they were last week. I just don't see them beating the Bills. Here's the thing about the Bills. They have played so great ever since their overtime loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and they also beat the Dallas Cowboys. They smoked the Dallas Cowboys, by the way. So that just means that the Chargers beating the Bills is going to be a massive uphill climb. And the Bills need this playoff win more so than the Chargers win. They need this win more than the Chargers do, because if the Chargers win, then they need a lot more to go their way. They need a lot of teams to basically lose and basically help out the Chargers in terms of their very small playoff hopes. Like, the Chargers would need everything to go their way in order to make the playoffs. And it's just delaying the inevitable at this point. And then the Chargers have to deal with the likes of James Cook, who had a monster game last week, Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen, Gabe Davis. I wouldn't put it past him having a big game. So, and even though the Bills' defense is beaten up, I would not be surprised if they had another get-right game. The only way the Bills lose is if they self-destruct and they just have a big head from last week and they just have a Dallas Cowboys hangover. But all in all, I feel this is going to be a Chargers loss. I just hate how the Chargers are going to. I just don't think the Chargers are going to win this one, just because they're without their starting quarterback, their starting wide receiver, their starting defensive linemen, and all that sort of thing. So they're basically at this point done. They're done. They're done for this season. At this point, they're tanking for Brock Bowers, is what I'm saying. And I know people are going to have their own opinions on who the Chargers should tank for, but I think Brock Bowers is who Justin Herbert needs. And Larry B said it best. The Rams can make it happen. The Chargers just need to play for next season. And that is facts right there. The Rams mathematically have everything going for them, and they are so close to making the playoffs. And especially in a logjam that is the NFC, and they have tiebreaker scenarios, and basically they're on a roll, and they just have a whole lot better path than the Chargers do. Whereas the Chargers, they're sitting at 13th in the AFC, and they're just hanging by a thread in terms of the playoffs. So I have the Chargers losing. What's a respectable score that will? Well, Patty said I think it was 34-13. She at first said 34-10, and I basically said, wait a sec, 10? The Chargers at least put up 21 in garbage time. So I gotta be a little bit respectable for the Chargers. I think they'll be at least better without Brandon Staley, but I think the Chargers lose 38-21. I think it won't be as bad as the Raiders game, but I think the Bills just lay the smackdown on the Chargers. I think the Chargers fall behind early, and they just can't recover. And the sad thing about that Brandon Staley is that I actually read an article on ESPN earlier today before I went live, and I saw that Brandon Staley just was not the perfect fit, and he basically used the whole every team has a bad game like this. Everyone probably remembers the press conference last week where he said every team has a bad game like this. That's not the first time he actually said it. He actually said that after the Chargers lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the wild card round. And remember when Brandon Staley said the Jacksonville loss has nothing to do with us playing bad? I have never seen a big fat lie as big as that one. So Brandon Staley, this man basically hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived everybody. And the sad part is that everyone believed him, except for me. I did not believe him for 1 second. And what's worse is I read more into that article and I saw that Brandon Staley it seemed like he lost more and more of the locker room, even though he said, I did not lose that locker room. And the funny thing is that after the Broncos game, he said, one reporter asked him, do you think you've lost the locker room? He's like, of course not. Of course I still have the locker room trust. Otherwise we'd be getting blown out of the water. Well, you got blown out of the water against the Raiders, so you just predicted your own demise, buddy. And the sad part is that I think the Chargers had there were 3 players on the Chargers with birthdays. I forget which ones, but Brandon Staley forgot that it was Dayan Henley's birthday. And then when someone said, hey, it's Dayan Henley's birthday too, and he's like, oh, it's Henley's birthday too. Basically, he just threw it out there like it was nobody's business, which that's just disrespectful to a player. You can't just say, oh, it's Dayan Henley's birthday too. You can't just acknowledge 2 players on their birthdays and then just randomly say, oh, it's this guy's birthday too. That's disrespectful to a player as in a coach's perspective. So I'm just so glad Brandon Staley is gone. The dude was sub 500, and Rex Ryan said it best. He needs to go back to coaching Division III football. And I think that's a disrespect to even Division III football coaches, because I think they could have done a better job than Brandon Staley. And I'm not trying to go down the rabbit hole like I did last week, but Brandon Staley was mainly the problem. And I hope that the Chargers hit a home run in terms of their new head coach. Whether it's Bill Belichick or Jim Harbaugh or someone else. They're saying Ben Johnson of the Lions, the offensive coordinator for the Lions, but I don't know. I mean, maybe some are saying Richard Sherman on the NFL Network said Mike Tomlin. I would not want that. I mean, the Chargers' goal is to make the playoffs and win a Lombardi, not go 9-8 and miss out on the playoffs by a hair. We already had that experiment with Brandon Staley in his first year, so there you go. All right. But that's that for the Chargers. We're done with that. I don't want to talk about the Chargers anymore, and I would not be surprised if the Chargers were eliminated after, even if they win against the Bills, it's no guarantee that they'll still be in contention for the playoffs, because every team could win their game, and then the Chargers could still be eliminated from playoff contention. So there you go. All right, but that is that for the Chargers and the Rams. Jumping over to college football. All right, so I was talking a little about UCLA football as their game against Boise State in the LA Bowl happened while I went live last week. So during that game, it was 16-7 in favor of Boise State, and Larry wants the Dodgers as well as the Galaxy and Lakers. Well, the Galaxy did actually release their schedule. We'll save the Dodgers and the Lakers for later, but UCLA did happen while I was doing my show last week, and UCLA did win, but they were down 16-7, which was, I was concerned. I was like, oh no, UCLA is going to do it again. But then something unbelievable happened, and unbelievable for the worse, and I feel horrible for this guy. Colin Schley. So, remember how Colin Schley was taking over as quarterback, and I wasn't approving of that? Well, unfortunately for the poor guy, the dude was basically running for his life. The dude actually led UCLA in rushing yards with 127. Little does everyone know, or for those that didn't watch the game, UCLA's quarterback, Colin Schley, actually got knocked out due to concussion, and then Ethan Garbers had to take over. Now, Ethan Garbers, when UCLA played Cal, he actually got knocked out early in that game, so he unfortunately couldn't play that game, so he actually wasn't in warm-ups, and he actually wasn't slated to play. So it was a big fat question mark on who was going to be backing up Colin Schlee. But then Ethan Garbers put on his big boy pants and came in to basically lead UCLA to, let me see if I'm doing my math correctly. Oh yeah, 28 unanswered points for the Bruins, which turned a 16-7 halftime deficit into a 35-16 lead in the fourth quarter. So there you have it. And I know Boise State scored a touchdown with about 5 minutes and change left on a 66-yard run, but that doesn't mean anything because Boise State couldn't do anything after that, as UCLA wound up winning 35-22, as Ethan Garbers was named the MVP of the LA Bowl. And that's good because if UCLA wound up losing that bowl game, I don't think there would have been any cure for their bowl-itis. I don't think Chip Kelly could have cured them. I don't think anybody could have cured them whatsoever. So, yes, UCLA wins. And I actually got to feel quite honest. Ethan Garbers was the guy for UCLA. I know the first game against Coastal Carolina didn't do him justice, but sometimes quarterbacks have that type of game. And this was his first start against UCLA. I know people wanted to see Dante Moore, but now Dante Moore is at Oregon. So, thanks, UCLA fans. Thanks for basically shunning Ethan Garbers' confidence. Now Ethan Garbers is now the starting quarterback, as he is going to be staying at UCLA after confirming that following the LA Bowl. So thank you to Ethan Garbers. And I actually got to feel quite proud because I actually got to see Ethan Garbers back in his high school days at Corona Del Mar. He even won a CIF state championship with the Sea Kings. And also his older brother Chase plays in the NFL for yeah, Raiders! Or at least he's on the practice squad. But still, Ethan Garbers is going to be doing big things, and I hope he does lead UCLA to the promised land. Except I don't think that's going to be happening, because UCLA is going to be in the Big Ten next year, and I really want to believe in UCLA, but I just don't know with all those big boys in the UCLA, or in the Big Ten, as UCLA is going to be playing the likes of Ohio State and Penn State and Michigan. So the Big Ten is basically going to be a gauntlet for them next year. Them and USC, which is actually perfect segue to go into USC, as they actually have a bowl game coming up this Wednesday, as they will be playing in the Holiday Bowl against number 15 Louisville. And this is actually going to be played at Petco Park in San Diego. So, yeah, this definitely has something to do with SoCal. The reason why I'm not going to make note of Snapdragon Stadium is because we don't affiliate. We're not going to talk about San Diego State anymore. That season was a nightmare. Except for the last game against Fresno State. But Fresno State was reeling. Anyway, so USC, oh boy. So, in case you live under a rock, USC is not starting Caleb Williams. USC is starting Miller Moss, because it's Miller time. No pun intended. Yeah, they're starting Miller Moss at quarterback. And you know what could be worse? Malachi Nelson, their freshman quarterback, could, hence the word could, be entering the transfer portal. Now, he was a 5-star quarterback, and he was one of the top recruits in the class of 2023. So if he goes into the transfer portal, I will be disgusted, because I actually got to see him play high school football back at Los Alamitos. But if USC lets him walk, I will never forgive USC. Ever. Anyway, back to this game. So, USC against Louisville. Miller Moss is your starting quarterback, as I don't know what to expect against Louisville. Oh, goodness. I mean, Louisville has lost their past 2 games against Florida State and Kentucky, but USC has lost 4 of their last 5, as they barely won that one game against Cal 50-49. I just don't know what to really expect for USC. I feel that watch USC just somehow win. I will laugh if USC just randomly wins this game against Louisville, as they suddenly play their guts out. I just don't know. and that's the thing. That's the beauty of bowl games. You could be, the record might not show it, but your team might actually just pull off some random thing where they say, "Oh, we're 7-5 compared to your 10-3. Ta-da! We have this up our sleeve." So, look. You know what? Screw it. Let's pick USC to win. I'm picking USC to win. I know this is going to be the biggest mistake ever, and hopefully D'Anton Lynn will be making his debut as the defensive coordinator for USC. In case you live under a rock, D'Anton Lynn is actually the son of Anthony Lynn. So, I say USC is going to beat Louisville 31-28. It's probably I'm making a huge mistake picking USC, but I'm picking the Trojans to win. Let's see if I'm actually correct. I'm probably not going to be correct, but I will laugh if I'm actually correct. And then we'll all be wondering where this USC team was all season. And Davidson Crooks, thank you for popping into the chat room. He says, hopefully the defense shows up, and if they get ahead of Louisville early, they should be fine. I totally agree, because if Kentucky could beat them, then I think USC has a good shot too. The only concern is Miller Moss. With Caleb Williams, I definitely would feel a lot more confident, but I feel with Miller Moss getting his first ever start for USC, it's going to be something interesting to say the least. But time will tell in terms of that regard. All right, but that is going to do it for some NCAA college football. Jumping over to some NCAA men's basketball. All right, so this was quite the result back on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. Tuesday was a big time result, and I was very surprised, and I forgot that this was a result. So, remember how I was saying I feel UCLA is going to bounce back after they lost to Villanova and Ohio State? Well, they played a little team called Cal State Northridge, who actually was improved, and I actually talked about their improvement. Well, little did I know, UCLA is complete hot. I wouldn't say hot garbage, but they are nowhere near the team that they were last year or the year before. As CSUN beat UCLA on the road at Pauley Pavilion 76-72. But that's not the kicker. The kicker is CSUN, Cal State Northridge, actually snapped UCLA's 29 home game winning streak. And that actually was the nation's longest home game winning streak. So for CSUN, you got to feel really special about snapping that home game winning streak right there and beating UCLA for the first time in what seemed like an eternity. So I got to give a big W award out to CSUN, Cal State Northridge, for beating UCLA. They were actually up 40-26 at halftime. UCLA tried to make it interesting, but eventually the Matadors were able to close out, which was big, as Deontay Bostic led the way with 18 points, while Sebastian Mack led UCLA with 27 points. But it wasn't enough, as the Matadors were able to beat UCLA at Pauley Pavilion, which, golly, and it was an 11-year Pac-12 drought, as I like how it says in the press release, they smacked UCLA, even though I don't know if that's considered a smacking, but CSUN just beat UCLA. And the funny thing is, between UCLA and USC, they actually went 2-3 against the Big West. Their only wins were USC beating Cal State Bakersfield, and UCLA narrowly escaping against UC Riverside. UCLA narrowly beating UC Riverside with their head coach being out sick, and then them not having enough them being out a few of their players, and then having to win on a game-winning jumper. So, UCLA and USC, you're gonna have a lot of questions next year when it comes to the Big Ten, because I know the Big Ten's you're gonna love the Big Ten next year. Not. But that's a big win for CSUN, because it had been 11 years since CSUN last beat UCLA. And for them to win like that is quite amazing, as they've now won 3 in a row, and they've improved to 8-3, as their next matchup is today, starting in about 15 minutes as of this recording, as they take on Montana State, which Long Beach State has beaten, so I think CSUN could win that one. Next week, they actually start conference play, and they are on the road against Cal Poly and said Long Beach State, which, believe it or not, Long Beach State has actually been quite hot. They've actually won 4 in a row, as Tuesday, the same day CSUN beat UCLA, Long Beach State beat Cal State Dominguez Hills, which isn't too much to write home about, but still a win. They beat him 107-78, as the Beach will hit the road to Cal State Fullerton on Thursday, which Fullerton is a solid team. And then Santa Barbara 7-3. They beat Howard on Wednesday, 94-81. They also beat LMU last Saturday, 68-59. As the Gauchos have won 3 in a row, as well as next Thursday they hit the road to Davis to take on UC Davis. So that's kind of good right there. Also can't count out UC Irvine. I know they also lost to New Mexico, and they had a close loss to San Diego State. As next Thursday they host UC Riverside, and I guess I'll show a little love to San Diego State, as the Aztecs are 10-2, which is pretty good, as they beat Stanford today 74-60. Tuesday they beat St. Catherine 91-57, as the Aztecs have won 3 in a row after they lost to Grand Canyon a couple weeks ago 79-73, which I think that was Grand Canyon's first ever ranked win. Ugh. And they also narrowly escaped against UC San Diego that same 3 weeks ago, 63-62. Woof, man, talk about a fall from grace. I guess I should also mention that San Diego State takes on number 15 Gonzaga next Friday. So, oh man, that's going to be a barn burner. Not sure if I'll have a show next week, but we'll see. But anyway, that's basically going to do it for college basketball. Oh, yeah, wait a minute, hold on. I got to talk about USC. All right, so USC, I forgot to mention, this past Sunday, they got smacked by Auburn, 91-75. Now I'm a little concerned for SC. First and foremost, well, they don't really have too many big time, other than the Kansas State win, which I think is a solid win. They don't have too many big-time wins or notable wins. Maybe Seton Hall is a good win, but other than Kansas State, maybe Seton Hall, USC doesn't have too many notable wins. They beat Alabama State this past Tuesday at Alabama State, 79-59, but that's not really the biggest win and most notable win, as well, as USC starts off Pac-12 play next Thursday as they hit the road to Matthew Knight Arena to take on Oregon. And then next Saturday, they hit the road to Corvallis to take on Oregon State. So USC kind of has some questions to answer in terms of men's basketball, and I'm very concerned. All right, but that's that for some college men's hoops right there. Jumping over to college women's hoops. All right, so this result, as you all might have saw me live tweeting, I saw the last bit of Long Beach State versus USC as I got home from my walk, and I saw that Long Beach State and USC was in a battle. Little did I know is that USC did not have Juju Watkins and Rhea Marshall, as Long Beach State gave everything USC could handle and then some. But Mackenzie Forbes was able to shoulder the load for USC, as she had 36 points and she had 4 assists to lift number 6 USC to an 85-77 win over Long Beach State on the road. Believe it or not, Long Beach State had a 20-5 edge against USC on the road prior to this matchup, but now it's 20-6 as USC was able to win yesterday. So it's a good win for USC, as let me just tell you, USC has improved so drastically, and I gotta give credit to Lindsay Gottlieb. She has really turned the Women of Troy's basketball program around, and I am very excited to see what this USC team can do. Now, their next matchup is going to be next Saturday, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, when they hit the road to Pauley Pavilion to take on UCLA. And that's a perfect segue to go into UCLA, as UCLA is still undefeated, as they're 11-0, as they just stomped all over Hawaii yesterday, beating them 85-46, and they also beat Ohio State 77-71. So UCLA is still looking good, and that USC-UCLA matchup is going to be great. I will confirm that Juju Watkins should be back, as well as Rhea Marshall. So USC is going to need everybody back for that USC-UCLA matchup. Otherwise, USC is going to get the doors blown off. But that USC-UCLA matchup is going to be primetime. And it sucks that it's on the Pac-12 network. Why? Why does it have to be only on the Pac-12 network? Jiminy Christmas, dude. Like, golly. On the Pac-12 network, number 6 versus number 2, and you decide to put it on Pac-12. Not everyone has the freaking Pac-12 network, for goodness sake. Ugh. Alright. But that's basically going to do it in that regard. I also got to give a little bit of a shout out to, mini shout out to Long Beach State. As I mentioned, they beat Colorado State last Friday, 77-76. Well, I mentioned that on Saturday's show. They did lose to Pacific the day after, though, 90-86. But they also beat San Francisco 81-79, which is a solid win. I mean, San Francisco. Oh, that's not a solid win. That's a blah win. You should be blowing that team out by more. And the fact that they lost to Pacific is head scratching. Well, I mean, Pacific is way better than San Francisco, but still. Looking at the Big West, oh my God, the Big West in terms of women's basketball is kind of a logjam, as the best teams are 6-4, with UC Irvine leading the way, as they just recently lost to Colorado State in the Beach Classic, 69-63. But they beat New Mexico State in Denver, 61-55 and 50-47. As for UC Santa Barbara, they beat Life Pacific on Wednesday, 107-53, despite losing to LMU this past Sunday, 64-57. And then Long Beach State, they're 5-5, as well as UC Riverside, who beat Cal Lutheran 82-49. They did, however, lose to Santa Clara 76-46. And then after UC Riverside, every team is below 500 in the Big West Conference. So this must be the most biggest down year in the Big West Conference in women's basketball. I have never seen a down year like this in women's basketball history in the Big West. Like, I know it's not the greatest, but my God, that's pretty bad. We need some good news ASAP. Anyway, CBU is 10-1, as they're still undefeated in conference play. I'm wondering who they lost to. The team that they lost to must have been a pretty darn good one, as they also beat San Diego State, and they also beat UTEP in overtime, which is pretty darn good. But whoever CBU lost to, or California Baptist lost to, must have been a pretty darn good team, as they beat UC San Diego, they beat San Diego State, they beat Long Beach State, they beat UTEP, they beat Portland, they beat Southern Utah, they beat Utah Tech, they beat Pepperdine, they beat Cal State Fullerton. But they didn't beat Louisiana Tech, as Louisiana Tech blew the doors off them, 77-51. Oh my God. Louisiana Tech was 3-9 going into that game. Well, I don't know. Louisiana Tech must have played some darn good opponents if they blew the doors off of CBU. But, oh well. It's better to lose those games than to lose the games that truly matter, as CBU is still sitting pretty atop the WAC conference, as they're only one of 3 teams that's undefeated in the WAC, as they actually don't have any more games in the month of December, which is weird. Their next game isn't until next year. I had to do it. As they take on Utah Valley on the 4th of January. So, there you go. And then I guess jumping over to San Diego State. San Diego State is 9-4, which is actually pretty solid if you ask me, as they just beat FAU, Florida Atlantic, as they've actually won 4 in a row after getting whomped by Stanford 85-44. Like I said, they just beat Florida Atlantic 75-48. They beat Kennesaw State on Wednesday in the West Palm Beach Classic 75-52. And they also beat Seattle 69-61. And Thursday, December 7th, San Diego State beat San Diego on the road 67-63, which that's a good win right there, except San Diego is just as bad as the Toreros are just as bad as the Aztecs. Like, in terms of the West Coast Conference in women's basketball, and this is no knock on any of them, it's bad. Like, LMU, San Diego, and Pepperdine unfortunately do not hold a candle to Gonzaga, Santa Clara, Pacific, Portland, or any of those other teams. And it sucks because I would like to see LMU or San Diego actually challenge those teams, but unfortunately that's just not going to be it. Anyway, so San Diego State is not going to have another game until next Saturday when they play Colorado State at home to kick off Mountain West Conference play, which is cool. All right, but that is basically going to be my quick little rundown of NCAA women's basketball. I guess I should circle back to NCAA men's basketball, and I forgot the West Coast Conference. Do I really need to go over the West Coast Conference in men's basketball? Might as well. Believe it or not, the second best team in the West Coast Conference in men's basketball is San Diego, as San Diego is actually 9-4. They're actually right behind Gonzaga. Well, they have the same record as San Francisco, but still, San Diego is one of the top teams in the West Coast Conference. Now let's see them hold that when West Coast Conference play happens. Then we'll talk. LMU is 7-5, and then Pepperdine is 6-8. I wish Pepperdine can turn it around, and I hope LMU can also turn it around. You would think LMU, with some of the talent that they got in terms of their signing day from last year, would be able to turn it around, but that's not the case. I guess I should also make note that tonight LMU plays host to Colorado State at 7 p.m., which, oh god, that's going to be a tough one. And then San Diego plays Fresno State. A lot of crossover action in terms of the Mountain West and the West Coast Conference. Probably because that the Washington State and Oregon State have those two teams coming to them. But I digress. All right, but that is going to do it for some college hoops right there. I guess we'll jump a little bit to the Lakers, since Larry B kind of wanted me to talk a little bit about them. Long story short, the Lakers are not doing good. Okay, fine, I'll get into it. I'll break it down. Last night, the Lakers lost to the Minnesota Timberwolves 118-111. The problem was that the Lakers did not have LeBron, and Anthony Davis could not carry this team by himself. And, God, it seems like the Lakers, after the in-season tournament championship, they just haven't looked like themselves. And it sucks because I think winning the in-season tournament might have been the worst thing for them. This is what you get for hanging up a championship banner. I told y'all that hanging up a championship banner for winning the in-season tournament doesn't mean anything. I tried to warn y'all, but none of y'all wanted to believe me. And then Wednesday, they also lost to the Chicago Bulls 124-108. And then Monday, they lost to the New York Knicks 114-109. Jiminy Christmas, dude. And did I mention this was after the Lakers lost to the Spurs last Friday, 129-115? Oh, by the way, that loss to the Spurs was just so icky. It was so bad, and I mentioned this on the last show, but it was so bad that the Lakers snapped the Spurs' 18-game win streak, which was the worst in its program's history. And yes, Larry B., I agree. The in-season tournament needs to go. What benefit does it have? Like, it's cool and all. It's cool for entertainment, but there's no point to it. Leave that to, like, soccer. Leave it to, like, soccer and whatnot. Leave the in-season tournaments to, like, the MLS and Liga MX and the NWSL. Just please keep it out of the NBA. Please. Please. Anyway, the Lakers are back in action tomorrow when they play at Oklahoma City. And then Monday, they host the Boston Celtics on Christmas Day. I do not care what anyone says. The Lakers have to win on Christmas Day. If not, Christmas is ruined. Lakers, you better win on Christmas Day. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And then Thursday, the Lakers host the Charlotte Hornets. And then Saturday, the Lakers have to go back to Minnesota to take on the Timberwolves. Good Lord Almighty. They have to go back to Minnesota? They were just at Minnesota last night. So, oh boy. Oh God. And they got the Celtics on the horizon. And they got the Thunder. So they got the second best team in the West after they played the first best team in the West. Then they've got the best team in the East, who actually has the best record in the NBA. And then they don't get a break until they play the Hornets, which even that one's not guaranteed. So, the thanks in-season tournament. Lakers just shouldn't have popped the bottles and the champagne and celebrated. They should have just said, let's get back to work after winning the in-season tournament. If anything, they should have just done that instead of just celebrating. If anything, maybe they should have just gone to In-N-Out, or they should have just gone out to dinner instead of just celebrating. That would have just been better, instead of just popping champagne. You don't celebrate, you don't pop champagne after an in-season tournament. You celebrate and pop champagne after winning a championship. Anyway, over to the Clippers. So, despite the Clippers losing last night, the Clippers were on a roll. They actually had won 9 in a row before losing last night to the Oklahoma City Thunder, losing 134-115, which made me sad face. They won a barn burner on the road against Dallas. They won 120-111, which that's a good win against Dallas. Then Monday they crushed the Pacers 151-127, and then last Saturday they stomped on the Knicks 144-122. So outside of the loss to the Thunder, I'm starting to kind of warm up to James Harden when he said once we have everything figured out, we're going to be a scary team. I want to say that's true, but the Oklahoma City loss kind of says otherwise. I basically said, are the Clippers contenders? Or the description says, are the Clippers contenders? My thing is, maybe. I think they are, but I still need to know. Can they take down more of the top dogs? Like, for example, tomorrow they host the Boston Celtics, which the Celtics are on a West Coast road trip. Well, they just got bounced back from getting embarrassed by the Warriors. Okay, I wouldn't say embarrassed, but they lost in overtime to the Warriors after Steph Curry put them to sleep. But the Celtics beat the Kings on Wednesday. Now they face the Clippers on Saturday, and then the Lakers on Monday, and then they go back to Greenland. No pun intended. But I can see the Clippers maybe winning, but they just have to play. They got to play pretty much perfect. Also, I hope Kawhi didn't get hurt, because I did hear that Kawhi Leonard did get hurt against Dallas, but I guess it wasn't as serious as most people thought it was going to be, as he didn't play in the previous game, so I'm hoping he didn't hurt himself too bad, because if he did, then I think the Clippers curse is starting to catch up to him. Thanks, Clippers. But anyway, that is going to do it for the Clippers right there. I'm generally impressed by the Clippers. They've really turned it around, and they went from 10th in the Western Conference following the in-season tournament all the way up to 5th. It just goes to show that the in-season tournament can sometimes actually serve a good purpose, because you could suck in the in-season tournament, but then that could actually serve as a wake-up call to saying, hey, we could actually do pretty good, and the in-season tournament doesn't define us, and we don't need to win no in-season tournament. Heck, maybe the Clippers might have lost on purpose to make everyone think, oh, we're not good, but now we're good. But anyway, that is gonna do it in terms of the NBA, and we're gonna take ourselves a quick little commercial break. When we come back, we will talk a little MLS, and a little miscellaneous SoCal news. And then we got to give out the Dum Dum of the Week, if there is any. Just kidding. There will be Dum Dum of the Week. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
What's up, sports fans? You're listening to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your favorite West Coast Wisconsinite, Bernie Bango, and if you're a cheesehead, come listen to my show, Big Cheese Sports, where we road trip around America's Dairyland, previewing, reviewing, predicting, debating, and digging into all that is Wisconsin sports at the college and pro levels. Join me on IE Sports Radio, Sundays at 1 p.m. Central Standard. Bernie out.
Well, what is up, Carolina Nation? This is John Felipe of the Carolina Cast, of course, the podcast of, by, and for the Carolinas, right here on IE Sports, your direct feed for all that is sports. And I'm reminding you to tune in Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern for the latest in Carolina sports, whether it's the Panthers that keep on pounding, the fly natures of the Hornets, the storming Hurricanes, the battle of the Blues with Duke and UNC, the fight of the Clemson Tigers, or the amazing atmosphere of any Carolina college. I'm talking App State, I'm talking ECU. I've got you covered. Once again, tune in for the Carolina Cast with me, John Felipe, Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right. Welcome to AZ Sports Daily. I'm your host, Kiernan Daly, bringing the heat to Arizona sports. There's no discrimination here. We're going to talk about every sports team, professional and college. The show is all about you, the listener. I'm here to entertain you. Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here? It's going to be fun, high energy. You may not agree with what I say. That's okay. Let me hear you. Let's talk about it. Join me every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on AZ Sports Daily. That's AZ Sports, D-A-L-E-Y, and at IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What up, Boston sports fans? This is Mikey Two Guns here, your host of Our Bleepin' City, airing every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Please join me. We'll talk everything Boston sports, all the local teams, college teams. I'm even down to talk MMA, boxing, whatever you guys want. So join me every Wednesday night, 7 to 8 p.m. Chime in with your questions on the chat, tweet the show. We'll even have call-ins. I can't wait to hear from you guys. This is going to be a lot of fun. So once again, it's Our Bleepin' City. I am your host, Mikey Two Guns, every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. See you soon, people.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Back with segment number 2 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, as 2 of those drops are actually going to be going live with their shows later on today, as Carolina Cast will be going live at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern, and Let's Wine About DMV Sports will be going live at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern. Definitely want to check that out. But let's get back on into the Southern California sports world, as we don't have too much to talk about, as I covered a lot in that hour-plus span. My goodness. Anyway, so we gotta talk this big MLB news, as this is probably the biggest MLB news that anyone has heard of, other than the Shohei Ohtani deal and Tyler Glasnow signing with the Dodgers. So, the Dodgers yesterday, they signed right-handed pitcher Yoshinobu Yamamoto, as he agreed to a, get this, he agreed to a $300 million deal. I'm sorry, check that, it's updated. $325 million deal. So it's a 12-year, $325 million deal with coveted Japanese right-handed pitcher Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And I guess the Dodgers are also on the hook for a posting fee of around $50 million to Yamamoto's former Nippon professional baseball team, the Oryx Buffaloes. So, in case you're not doing your math, the Dodgers are spending over $1 billion in terms of pitching. They got Tyler Glasnow, they got Shohei Ohtani, and now they've got Yoshinobu Yamamoto. If I mispronounce that, I apologize. So, and Larry B put it best: if the Dodgers don't win the World Series, if the Dodgers do not get out of the of the divisional round, then we got a problem. Then they got to get rid of Dave Roberts. There's no exception. The Dodgers have basically broken the bank. They might need a new... I just need to wonder where they're getting all this cash from. Do they have an unlimited credit card? I just need to know. This is just unheard of, ladies and gentlemen. As Jen B pops in the chat room, she says, "Hey, Teran, how are you doing, Jen B?" But this is just outstanding, and the Dodgers do get their ace, as this is just outstanding. So, Larry says, if the Dodgers lose to the Padres in the freaking NLDS, or the Diamondbacks, or the Cardinals, or the Nationals, or the Giants, or the Rockies, or any team that they should probably beat in advance to the NLCS, then, to quote Cletus Cassidy in Venom 1, there's gonna be carnage. I probably spoiled that part, but I think people should have already watched that movie by now, especially those that have watched Venom 2, but I'm getting off topic here. Anyway, so Dodgers get their ace for $325 million for 12 years. So the Dodgers really have to swing for the fences here, or at least pitch a perfect one here. Like, they have to get at least one World Series here. Like, I know people are going to basically say, all this just to lose in the NLDS. Look, I understand everyone's got their jokes, but the Dodgers can't suck forever. And this just goes to show that sometimes you just have your bad luck in some of these divisional rounds. And I think the problem with the Dodgers is that they just peak too early in terms of the regular season, and that's the sad part. I just think that the Dodgers just were peaking too early in terms of the regular season, and then they unfortunately wound up laying a goose egg in the playoffs as their big-time hitters or their 1-2-3 hitters just went, 4 for 23 in at-bats. It was just ugly. So I'm hoping that their pitching was absolutely decimated. And I feel the signs might be pointing to Clayton Kershaw retiring, but I hope that's just not the case before he gets one more World Series championship, an actual legitimate one. But regardless, I am excited about this, and the Dodgers have to keep going all in. And if there really is no limit to what is happening, then the Dodgers got to keep going for it. Oh, man. All right, but that is going to do it for the Dodgers in that regard. So the Galaxy just released their schedule, as well as LAFC. We care more about LAFC just because I'm just kidding. We don't not care about the Galaxy. I mean, we love the Galaxy, but the Galaxy are just, they make me sick. So I will say LAFC's first game of the season will be on Saturday, February 24th, when they take on the Seattle Sounders. That's going to be fun, as that's going to be a home game. And then the first El Tráfico will not be until, can we get a drum roll, please? Not the loudest drum roll, but what can we do? It's not going to be till April 6th, a Saturday, when LAFC hosts El Tráfico, which is nice. And I can't wait for El Tráfico, and the next El Tráfico after that will not be until Saturday, September 14th, which will be hosted by the Galaxy. Actually, July 4th. Oh my God, 4th of July? Well, Galaxy will be hosting both the next two El Tráficos on the 4th of July and Saturday, September 14th. So, Galaxy, you might want to enjoy hosting El Tráfico when you can. I think it's going to be a barn burner. So, I'm excited for El Tráfico. For LAFC, I guess I will say this. They have more expectations than the Galaxy do. But I guess the Galaxy don't have a lot to lose. I mean, they made a late playoff push. Time was not on their side, as they just got off to such a horrible start and they just did not recover. Whereas LAFC eventually they basically got off to a good start and they never relinquished a playoff spot. And they eventually, I wouldn't say they had an easy path just because they played Seattle, which is never easy, but not seeing St. Louis on the road just made a huge difference. And obviously, LAFC was the best team in the Western Conference. The problem is that they were not the best team in the MLS overall, as Columbus Crew kind of smacked them back to earth, which is kind of typical. But it is what it is. So there you have it, as I'm really excited for both the LA Galaxy and for LAFC. I think both teams can actually do good, but time will tell. So that is going to do it in that regard right there. And Gen B says, "Go Crew." Oh God, thank you for the reminder. I think that is pretty much that. As I guess I should also make note that this past week was signing day for all of high school football players, and USC did get some notable players, as well as UCLA, and the transfer portal is up and popping, and it looks like USC has a lot of notable players. I will just mention that USC has a combined, between 4 and 5-star players, they have 11 4 and 5-star players in their class of 2024, which I guess is good, but when you compare that to Oregon has a whopping 20 4 and 5-star players, which, USC, why you gotta do this to us? And for UCLA, they only have 3. They have 3 4 and 5-star class of 2024 signees /commits. as stated by Super West Sports. So, yikes. And then I guess I should make note that San Diego State only has one 4 or 5 star signee/commit. So, ouch. You know it's sad that UCLA only has only 3 4 or 5 star commits. Come on, UCLA. It is a little sad because Stanford has 4, Colorado has 4, Washington has 7. Like I said, USC has 11, and then Oregon has 21. Oregon has 21, so I was wrong when I said 20. Oregon has 21. What's wrong with this picture? Why is UCLA not so appealing as they were in the past? Most people would love and kill to try to go to UCLA. Now UCLA is just meh. It is what it is. But I digress. So, Chip Kelly, you might want to actually fix something. But it is what it is. Alright, but that is going to do it for that little bit of news right there. So, before we get on out of here, we got to go over Dum Dum of the Week. So, Dum Dum of the Week is an award I like to give out to whether it's to a person or someone that does or says something stupid. I already gave it to the Chargers last week, so for those that were hoping I was going to give it to the Chargers this week, well, I can't give it to them this week, but I will give it out to a couple of people. So, first and foremost, I will give it out to probably an organization. And you know how I was talking about how the Dodgers have spent over $1 billion on Shohei Ohtani, Yamamoto, and I'm not even going to Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Tyler Glasnow. Well, this makes me wonder, why does the MLB not have a salary cap? And if so, how much salary cap space does the Dodgers have? MLB, you got to answer some questions here. Let me answer this. Let me ask this, MLB. Why does the Dodgers where did the Dodgers get over $1 billion worth of cap space? And how much more cap space do they have? Like, the MLB we need answers, MLB. Where are they getting this cap space? Do they have a secret Bank of America that they're just withdrawing money and just adding to their cap space? Do they have a secret credit card that is just unlimited? Do they just have $1 zillion worth of a credit card? Like, MLB, you've got a lot of explaining to do. I just don't understand why, how, and where the Dodgers have all this cap space. Not that I'm complaining, mind you, but every other fan base and every MLB fan and every other team in the MLB is wondering how in Jupiter's jingle shoot the Dodgers have spent over $1 billion with a B, in terms of cap space on 3 players. 3 players. Pitchers, mind you. Well, Shohei Ohtani's a unicorn. Yes, he could pitch and hit, but still, 3 generational players, with 2 being really talented pitchers and 1 once-in-a-lifetime generational talent. But still, I need to know, MLB, and we need a statement and a release, and we need basically your information about cap space, because if not, then I smell BS. So, until we get a straight answer from you, I wouldn't call you dumb, but this baffles me quite a bit. So, MLB, you might want to actually, to make it a little fair for the Angels and Padres, you might want to actually slap a cap space or something, or at least give the Angels and Padres a little bit more of some leeway. I know the Padres have talent on their team, but what about those poor little Angels? What about them? They might not ever sniff the playoffs ever again. They've had multiple chances. You've given them all the chances in the world. You gave them even an extra playoff spot to try to make the playoffs. But still, Golden Boy Mike Trout and the Angels still can't make the playoffs. And as a result, the Angels have crappy ownership. Thanks, Art Moreno. So as a result, you, MLB, have a lot of explaining, and I'm just confused. So that's why I kind of got to give you Dumb of the Week. Even though it's kind of confusing, but we need answers, MLB.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
I guess we could also give Dum Dum of the Week to the Angels, just because that's another player they let the Dodgers go away to. I guess I should also mention that the Dodgers tickets and everything Dodgers related is going to be super expensive. We all thought Dodgers tickets were going to be expensive. It's going to be skyrocketing. I think the cheapest Dodgers tickets might be like $100, and that's probably nosebleed seats. Parking is probably going to be worse than it is at SoFi Stadium. Dodger dogs are probably going to be like $35 just for one dog. But Dodger everything is going to be super expensive. Thanks, MLB. Thanks for basically not putting a cap on anything. Anyway, so that's that for Dum Dum of the Week number 1. Now for Dum Dum of the Week number 2, and I'm going to kind of give it to myself, because when I did set point yesterday, I kind of forgot to switch auto DJ off, and one of the drops was playing when I was coming back from my break, so oops. I forgot to accidentally switch off auto DJ, and one of the drops was kind of playing, and then I thankfully noticed, and then thankfully I was able to switch it off before all the drops played. So wah wah wah. So I do got to be a little bit mindful of that. So I'm sorry to everybody that listened on set point that heard a little bit of the drop playing when I came back. So as a result of my semi-incompetence, I am the kind of Dum Dum of the Week. I mean, it wasn't a bad thing, but I still should know at this point, just because I'm trying to make set point as perfect as possible. So I'm kind of the Dum Dum of the Week. Hey, my guy, you're supposed to be talking. Come on.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Yeah, I should have known better, and I should have maybe been a little bit more aware. But it's all good. Accidents happen, I guess. And I guess that's pretty much that for Dum Dum of the Week, unless I'm forgetting somebody. One more Dum Dum of the Week, and this was actually Dum Dum of the Week that I forgot to make note of in regards to when LAFC lost in the MLS Cup. So I can't believe this actually happened, and I'm so sick to my stomach that this happened. So LAFC fans should be ashamed of themselves. Of themselves. So LAFC and their fans. So LAFC's fans, after LAFC lost to Columbus Crew, they were throwing bottles onto the field, which stay classy, LAFC. I can't believe that actually happened. Yes, I understand you're frustrated because LAFC lost the biggest game of the season. No, you shouldn't be throwing bottles at the Columbus Crew players or the LAFC players or anything of that sort. You shouldn't be doing that in terms of anything. You're not University of Miami football fans. I can't believe LAFC fans actually stooped that low. God, it makes me wonder why you don't ever go to MLS games. Just because of that regard. This isn't freaking Bottlegate. So LAFC fans, you should be ashamed of your gosh dang selves, and that's why you are Dum Dum of the Week for throwing bottles at not only the LAFC players, but for the Columbus Crew players. Like, come on, man. Do better than that. And you're an embarrassment to the MLS fans altogether. So, LAFC fans, do better. You are the Dum Dum of the Week. Heck, I might have to give it to you twice just because I forgot last week. So talk to him, my guy.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Tell it to him one more time. Tell it to him one more time.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Yeah, that'll teach you LAFC fans to throw bottles at Columbus Crew players or any of the LAFC players or anybody. Like, come on, man. That's terrible. Awful. But that, my friends, is all that she wrote. Before I head on out of here, a couple things. So next week is probably going to be the last show of this year, and I'm probably going to be picking Dum Dum of the Year if there are no Dum Dums of the Week. God, I hope there are no Dum Dums of the Week, otherwise the guy who says, "You are so dumb, you are really, really dumb, for real," should slide down the chimney, take all the presents, and leave nothing but Dum Dum of the Week awards. Actual Dum Dum of the Week awards. But I might have a feeling on who Dum Dum of the Year might be. I have a lot of candidates, but I could only pick one Dum Dum of the Year. And if you have any nominations for Dum Dum of the Year, just let me know. But second thing I do gotta make note of is, so I'm actually going to be leaving for Texas to go visit my brother, and it does not mean I will be leaving the show behind. I will still be doing the show. I just may have to shuffle the show in its time and day. But the SoCal Supreme Sports Show and Set Point are not going anywhere. So just because I'm leaving SoCal does not mean SoCal is leaving me. I'm still going to be bleeding the SoCal blood within me, and my heart is going to be beating that SoCal blood and whatnot. Because I still got to represent for SoCal and IE Sports Radio and whatnot. And that goes double for Set Point. So there we go. But with all that said and done, that is going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. It is that time to get on out of here. Because I got me some chores to do, because my brother is coming over tomorrow. Which I probably could have had the show tomorrow, but what can we do? Yeah, dig! Thank you everyone for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate it. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I appreciate you. Shout out to Larry B. He said you got me through my whole lift and cardio. I appreciate it, Larry B. I'm glad I could. Thank you for listening in as much as you can. I'm glad I could get you through your lift and cardio. Also, a huge shout out to Mike, Pat, David Crooks, and Jen B, who was in the chat room. I really do appreciate y'all for tuning in. I will actually be back on Set Point for Set Point on Tuesday at noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. As everyone thought that since there's not going to be volleyball, I was going to probably take the week off. Set Point ain't going anywhere. But I should be back for SoCal at the same time, same day, same place. Except I'll be in Dallas, Texas. So it'll be like, I think it'll be 2 p.m. It'll be 2 p.m. in Dallas, Texas time. It all depends on what happens. Hopefully everything stays the same. But until then, have yourself a great rest of the weekend. Enjoy the SoCal action. Try not to watch The Nightmare Before Christmas, aka the Chargers playing the Buffalo Bills. Please have yourself a safe and happy holidays, a safe and Merry Christmas. Please be with your loved ones. Don't do anything dumb. Don't try to steal Christmas, because if you do, you will definitely get Dum Dum of the Week and maybe Dum Dum of the Year. I will see you all Tuesday for Set Point, and may all your dreams, and which are good dreams, come true. Have a great weekend, and remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace, and Merry Christmas to you all. And to all, a good afternoon, and a good night.